Recent developments have emerged concerning Sean "Diddy" Combs' current imprisonment status. Exclusive footage has surfaced showing Diddy appearing visibly distressed while incarcerated, with the material rapidly circulating across digital platforms. While earlier reports suggested Combs was maintaining a comfortable lifestyle behind bars, allegedly consuming wine and conducting informal business seminars for fellow inmates, new intelligence indicates a significantly more precarious situation. Sources now report that Combs may face serious threats from associates connected to the late Tupac Shakur, raising concerns about his safety within the correctional facility.
Because people think that he has something to do with Pac, people think he has something to do with Biggie, and they right here in Brooklyn.
The unsolved murders of Tupac Shakur and Christopher the Notorious B.I.G. Wallace have remained among hip-hop's most haunting mysteries for nearly 3 decades. Throughout this period, Sean Combs has consistently and categorically denied any involvement in either tragic incident.
It was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Check this out.
On September 7, 1996, Tupac Shakur was fatally wounded in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada. Despite fighting for his life over 6 days, the legendary rapper succumbed to his injuries at the age of 25. Merely 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, the Notorious B.I.G. was killed in a similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, California. These back-to-back tragedies occurred during the height of the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry, a conflict that transcended musical competition to encompass regional pride, personal loyalty, and deep-seated animosity. As the Notorious B.I.G.'s producer, close friend, and CEO of Bad Boy Records, Sean Combs was positioned firmly within the East Coast faction. Over the subsequent years, Combs' name has repeatedly surfaced in discussions surrounding both homicides.
The Netflix documentary series Sean Combs: The Reckoning, which premiered on December 2nd, has reignited these conversations, featuring multiple individuals who allege Combs may have played a significant role in these events. Bad Boy Records co-founder Kirk Burroughs stated in the documentary, "I believe that Sean had substantial involvement in the death of Tupac, and he facilitated circumstances that led to Biggie's death." The tension between Combs and Shakur originated from a specific incident on November 30th, 1994, when Tupac arrived at Quad Studios in New York City to record a guest verse for Diddy's artist, Little Sean. Instead of a recording session, Shakur was ambushed, robbed, and shot 5 times in the building's lobby. Though he survived, the incident irrevocably damaged his relationship with both Combs and Wallace. In a 1996 interview with Five magazine, when directly asked whether he believed Diddy was involved, Tupac's response reflected his deep suspicion.
He was involved with the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did.
The Quad Studio shooting remains officially unsolved. However, former Bad Boy security director Gene Deal alleges that Combs had prior knowledge of the attack on Tupac and deliberately allowed it to proceed. Deal claims that the 50 Cent documentary addressed this incident but omitted critical details. According to Deal's account, on the day of the shooting, Sean Combs, Andre Harrell, and James "Jimmy" Henchman Rosemond were all present together in Rosemond's office, a fact that neither Biggie nor Suge Knight knew at the time. Deal asserts that Combs' presence was not coincidental. He alleges that Combs was monitoring Biggie's activities because he controlled the artist's publishing rights and wanted oversight of new material being created. Deal further claims that while they were at the studio, Jimmy Henchman informed Combs that Tupac would be taught a lesson over money Shakur allegedly owed.
What's gonna happen to Pac? He was there for that. Because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office, he would have went to the studio or the studio session with Big Nim. He would have went to that studio session with Big Nim. He knew what room Big Nim was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was going to happen to Pac after Jimmy told him. And that's factual.
Gene Deal maintains that this account aligns with Kirk Burroughs' allegations that Combs orchestrated events from behind the scenes. Deal suggests that if financial transactions were involved, Burroughs would likely have knowledge of the money trail.
The entry of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they finna show Pac, teach Pac.
While many of the principal figures involved are now deceased, Deal emphasizes that financial records remain. Paper trails are permanent. If the truth is to emerge, Deal believes it exists within documentation, checks, wire transfers, and financial transactions that can still be traced and analyzed.
Yeah, Kirk Burroughs, he also said that, he feels like, Diddy was behind Pac murder.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years after the Quad Studios incident came the Las Vegas shooting that claimed Tupac Shakur's life. For decades, this case also remained unsolved, fueling endless speculation throughout the hip-hop community. However, in September 2023, a significant breakthrough occurred when Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors alleged he played a central role in the killing. In July 2024, court filings revealed a previously undisclosed 2009 police interview in which Davis allegedly detailed his involvement in Tupac's murder and repeatedly implicated Sean Combs, claiming Combs ordered the shooting. According to Davis's statements, Combs was enraged by Tupac's continuous public insults. A DEA and U.S. Department of Justice report also referenced a 2008 interview wherein Davis claimed Combs expressed the need to eliminate Marion Suge Knight and Shakur, allegedly offering Davis $1 million to execute the plan. Sean Combs has categorically denied all such allegations. In July 2024, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department issued a statement clarifying that Sean Combs has never been considered a suspect in the Tupac Shakur homicide investigation. Combs has never been charged in connection with the case. Davis has pleaded not guilty and remains in custody, with his trial currently delayed.
Keefe D's claim was an informant in 1997.
That was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said
So the FBI told you the same thing?
dirty mother. Yeah.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well?
They said Zip's the dirty mother. Everybody crossed you. You're the last one to know every thing. Even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross your way.
Following Tupac's death, according to individuals close to the situation, Combs and his East Coast associates were advised to avoid traveling to the West Coast. Nevertheless, Combs proceeded with plans to promote the Notorious B.I.G.'s forthcoming album. Kirk Burroughs stated in Sean Combs' The Reckoning, Biggie didn't want to go, but Sean convinced him to proceed with all those promotional activities. Gene Deal has corroborated this account. He revealed that Clark Kent, who was close to Biggie and worked within the industry, questioned why Biggie was attending social events that evening. Biggie was scheduled to be traveling, not socializing. When Clark inquired about their plans to attend the Peterson Automotive Museum, Biggie informed him the arrangements had been made by Puffy and another associate. Deal states he was unaware of this detail until Clark made it public years later.
In an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A.,
What troubles Gene Deal most profoundly is that he requested additional security personnel before they departed that evening. He states he emphatically urged enhanced protection and was denied. According to Deal, Puffy claimed there were insufficient funds for additional security measures.
I wasn't going out to no party, no clubs, and no hip-hop scene. They wasn't doing.
Later in the documentary series, former LAPD detective Greg Kading stated he believed Combs hindered rather than facilitated the investigation.
People still want to know about it. They should have had better security. I asked them before we gonna go out? Let's hire some more security. They refused to hire more security. Kirk Burroughs said the same thing. They ain't have it in the budget. Not without Big, they don't have no budget. How about that?
Eyewitness accounts described Biggie's shooter as a black male wearing a blue tuxedo with a bow tie. To date, no arrests or charges have been filed in connection with the case. Decades later, both murders remain officially unsolved, and Sean Combs remains free of any charges related to either incident. However, the situation may soon change, particularly as an increasing number of alleged connections to Combs' involvement in Tupac's murder continue to surface. According to Kirk Burroughs, tensions were already escalating before Tupac entered Quad Studios. Trust was minimal, egos were inflated, and the industry was riddled with unspoken rivalries. When Tupac was robbed and shot inside the building, Burroughs states the consequences were immediate and severe. From that moment forward, relations between the respective camps were irreparably damaged.
Perceptions have changed slightly, gradually over time. Today, I look at Diddy through a different lens than I might have 10, 15 years ago. There were obviously some early red flags, but it's a complicated thing because we have to be very careful about falsely accusing people or even, making accusations based on nothing more than speculation. And we just haven't seen all the evidence. So I prefer to kind of withhold judgment on some things. I can tell you regarding Diddy back when Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were murdered. He wasn't exactly cooperative. He didn't do what you would assume a friend or, a manager, so to speak, would do. So from a law enforcement perspective, he was very unhelpful in an area where he ought to have been contributing towards getting some type of justice in those two murder cases. But as we found out in time, he was complicit in one of them, and which would make sense why maybe he didn't cooperate in the other, because the two were, they were just, we always understood that they were somehow interconnected. And so if you're going to cooperate or provide information on one and you're culpable in the other, one thing could lead back to the next. And that's where I think he understood his own vulnerability.
Burroughs recalls that Tupac issued a warning indicating the situation had evolved beyond musical competition. The message was unambiguous. Tupac believed he was now engaged in a conflict with Puffy and Biggie. There was no ambiguity in his declaration, no possibility for misinterpretation. In Tupac's assessment, the Quad Studios incident fundamentally altered the nature of their relationship. From Burroughs' perspective, that incident marked the true escalation point of the feud, long before the violence that would ultimately shock the world.
Again, he was friendly with Big. He saw Little Sean, people like that. They wanted him to come and do a record. That was what was set up at Quad. Biggie knowing Little Sean, they were all there, C's, all of them. It was just going to be a fun night at the studio. Pac showed up. He saw them looking down from the window. His new friends were there. An incident happened in the elevator. It might have been a scary thing, like just to send a message. Tupac standing his own ground, just didn't leave it at that. He ended up getting hit, getting shot. The elevator went up. Our people were shocked to see him in that state. He was shocked to see our people looking at him shocked. He thought that they knew something about it. He thought if he was in New York and he was with all the rappers from the East, they must have known what was going to happen. It had to be in the wind, and situations aren't laid out like that. And it was the furthest thing from the truth, but he held that to his heart. And then he went away. A few other things happened, got better, got repaired, went away, went to jail on a rape charge. Once that came down on him, it looked as if the East Coast must have been the worst thing and the worst place for him to have come to. And it looks as if the friends that he had just turned their backs on him. Suge stepped in. And when Suge stepped in, he signed him. He signed him to a napkin at Clinton. And that letter that he sent through Wendy Day, she was definitely a person that was connected and a mediator between most everyone in the hip hop game and had been for a minute, legendary person. She delivered the letter to my office. It started with West Side Up. So it gave an indication of rumblings that we heard in the street with him being shined by Suge was definitely true. He's going to go west when he comes back, and he has an issue with us.
Meanwhile, Eric Chopper Young believes Sean Combs was almost certainly responsible for Tupac's death, particularly given the intensity of his animosity toward the rapper.
By the name of Wendy Day, very important woman in the hip-hop world. I think she helped Baby and those guys with Cash Money label, setting that up. She's very influential and instrumental in a lot of success. When I started in the music business, I reached out to her. She had a company called Rap Coalition. She went back and helped rappers from a previous generation get their money straight, their royalties. With that being said, I was like, she's someone I want to know. In knowing her, I had the good fortune when she was dealing with Tupac during his crises on the East Coast, she went to visit him at Clinton. He wrote a letter, drafted it, so that she can bring it to me at the office so that I could know and be able to relate to Sean where we were with him. And the letter, if I remember, it said, West Side Up. And what we had heard was rumblings that Suge came and signed him on a napkin to a contract, and he was going to go west, and all the stuff had happened to him on the East and made it look like people on the East, King or the biggest rappers on the East, or people that he knew should have warned him or protected him against what had happened. And it just is not geographically laid out like that. And a lot of people caught some blame for things that they had nothing to do with. And he took offense, went west, and that started him as a mouthpiece against the East, all right, going at Biggie. And I think it's more than, that's one level of the beef. Then I think there's another level of things that were going on in the streets where things happened in the dividing line between East and West that caused a big rift that led to mouthpieces going at each other.
Chopper characterizes Diddy's feelings toward Tupac as extraordinarily intense, not merely competitive or petty, but deeply personal. He states that Diddy's hatred for Tupac was undeniable, regardless of how that assessment might sound. Only in retrospect did he fully comprehend the depth of that animosity.
You made about how when you would bring up Pac's name around Diddy, he'll get mad.
Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tupac. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That nigga ain't even talk to me for like 4 days after that. Everything with Pac, like, you couldn't say Pac was anything better than Biggie. You can't put them in the same realm or nothing. It was all about Biggie. Nick, I ain't know no fucking, it was all a dream whole song. I knew a couple words, the first verse maybe, but he made us recite the whole fucking thing. I guess, I don't know. He made us recite that whole fucking thing. And I don't think that Biggie would have gave a if a nigga would have killed about reciting this whole shit, you dig? Like, cause I grew up listening to Biggie too, and I just felt Pac different.
Currently, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson is allegedly disseminating this footage to media outlets, including TMZ and other news aggregators. According to Gene Deal's assessment, if these allegations continue to gain traction, Diddy will likely respond.
Situation. I think the real reason why they ain't gonna let Puffy out is because they trying to connect that Kiefer D situation with Puffy. That's what I really think it is. Because if it came down to some significant foolishness and all that, there are buku chumped up charges they couldn't prove, I don't think they got no evidence. I think they trying to keep him in there to lock in that Kiefer D. You heard me? That Kiefer D situation with Puff. I think that's the only reason why he's still in jail right now. They know Puff is not a dangerous person on the outside. They know if they let him out right now, he's gonna be on house arrest. He's gonna be a good boy. He f around and do all church little videos and whatever. They know that already. That's not what they aiming for. They don't care about none of that. What they care about is they trying to connect Kiefer D with Biggie. I mean, with Tupac and Diddy. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. I never thought I would have said that, but I'm an intelligent man, bro, and ain't no other way they gonna keep you in there of Diddy did this to me, Diddy did that to me, I'm suing him. Oh, we got enough evidence to. No, you don't. That's accusations. That's not factual, brother. You did. So I feel like the actual factual thing that they really trying to aim for is the Kiefer D. That's the only thing that they can really lock him in with. All the rest of that shit gonna get chumped down when it come down to it. Diddy gonna plead, and that shit be over with. But they gonna, that rabbit in the hole is gonna be that Kiefer D situation. I'm telling you, mark my words. Watch. That's why they ain't gonna let him out. They would have let Kiefer D out on that bail. Vegas got a little thing. They'll let you out on bail, but they got little restrictions of how you can get out. You did. So they gonna make sure your ass can't get out of jail. Trust me. So that's the only way I see that. Because the feds play a different game.
Now they need people to put people out here that's doing shit like this, that's taking from people's families, that's women, that's women. I ain't got a problem with it. Let's go to war. Bruh, first of all, they're gonna try to get his baby mama stories, you know. They're gonna try to get 50 baby mama stories. They're gonna try to get girls that he probably dated, that he had problems and issues with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to do the same thing they probably did to R. Kelly or Puff or whatever like that, and people tell their stories. You understand? But, you know, they trying to retaliate on what he did. Let him go ahead, bruh. Because I think he ready for it. You don't do this and you don't do the stuff that he did or sign on to the stuff that he did with Puff. Unless you got your in order. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. I believe 50 ready for it. If they come at him any kind of way. I heard that Diddy is trying to sue Netflix for $1 billion. Ain't nothing came up in court. That's just talk, bro. No paperwork has been put in and signed into that. They're gonna have to have a reason. If they were suing him and he had enough reason, why they didn't cease and desist the thing? Huh? If he had a leg to stand on, why they didn't cease and desist the documentary? That's just people talking. Headline news. Because had it been filed in court and they had a leg to stand on, they'd have been bringing that stuff down. Oh, we can't show it no more.
Do you believe sufficient evidence exists to convict Sean Combs in connection to Tupac Shakur's murder? Share your perspective in the comment section below.